Welcome back, Pirates, to the channel. Today for you, we're going to show you a new deck profile that we have not done yet. And this time it's going to be Mr. IceBurg. He is the weirdo that walks around with maps and mice on his shoulders. So that's cool. He's the president of the Galileo Company and the mayor of Water 7. Anyways, his effect here is that he can't attack. So already it looks like he sucks, but he doesn't suck that much. We're going to tell you why, because his effect is to flood the field like crazy. So you -1, rest him, play Galileo Company cards that cost 5 or less from your hand. So we're going to show you how you can flood the field at, the most strongest way with this deck profile. So since we like struggling to win at our locals, we're going to play this deck. Anyways, Galileo Company is the card you must play at 4 of. It's like the old card from set 1, the Onigashima Island card for Kaido, but this does the exact same thing. You have 3, you rest a stage, you get a free Dawn every turn. Most important card of the deck. If you mulligan, make sure that you want to see this or Kokoro, the next card that searches this. So 4 of this, mandatory in any IceBurg deck. It's the only thing that keeps IceBurg relevant at all. The only way you can keep up. So next is your 4 of. This is your searcher. On play, Miss Kokoro, this another weirdo looking character. Anyways, yeah, look at 5 cards, take a Water 7 card. So she's cool because she takes all your Galileo character cards, plus she can search the company card because it is a Water 7 card, as you can see. So 2 of the most important cards to see in your opening hand when you play with this deck here. So Kokoro's. Up next, I chose to play only 2 of this card. It's Chimney and Gambe. It's just the blocker. I'll show you at the end of the video things you can swap out if you're not a fan of blockers, but I think low-level blockers are okay, especially when you go into the late game and your opponent thinks they got game next turn and you know you do. You can play 2 of this to kind of slow down their tempo a little bit because they have to deal with it, unless you're going up against Whitebeard. But we all know Whitebeard got the ban hammer recently, so we don't have to worry about him too much. Anyways, 2 of hers. So let's start looking at our company cards that you can play with the leader effect. So this one is a 2k counter in hand, not bad. When attacking, you're -1 and you get to draw 2, trash 1. So big advantage for that. So that's why we play her at 4. If you're not going to summon her, player, you can just use a 2k counter. So definitely 4 of. We're going to be maxing out on most of our Galileo Company cards because we want to see them as much as possible because we need the leader to flood the field. If he's not doing that, he's not doing his job, and there's no way you'll ever take a game off anybody in this deck. So up next, we got 4 of is Mr. Tilestone. So funny beard man. This deck is filled with weird looking characters. Anyways, his effect is on KO. You get to add a Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So you get advantage because the leader's going to make you on -Dawn a lot, but cards like him are going to help you recover. And he's very strong because you get to play a 6K character on your very first turn and second turn and third turn and forever, as long as you keep seeing him and other cards. So that's why very nice attack stat at 6. So 4 of him's one of the better ones to play early on. Up next, we've got Kaku. Another one you can play with the leader effect. Is also 6k power. So when attacking, you -1 Dawn just to give him banish for the battle. And that's very good against many decks, especially like Katakuri, where you find that they stack their life to the way they want it with their crazy triggers. So you put him and you load up some Dawn on him. That's a crazy heavy threat. So definitely Kaku's a 4 of against those matchups like the yellow decks. So we love him. Very good attack stat as well. Up next, choosing to play 4 of Rob Lucci. Same attack stat as the other 2 guys. And his effect is when attacking, you're -1 to rest a guy that has 5 costs or less. So that's a good way to finish off your opponents in the endgame when they're playing blockers, or for example, the black color decks that play Borsalino. This will be able to rest him and then you don't have to deal with him. So it's a pretty good effect on that. So this is the man to ignore the opponent's blockers. Next up is Polly, one of the longer effects in the deck. So we're putting 3 of him's because on play, you get to rest 2 and then you get to add a Dawn from the Dawn deck and put it as active. So that's very good play in the early stages because you can just get a free Dawn and take advantage of the fact that, your leader is making you -, he'll make you plus, so everything will balance out in that sense. And then in the late game, when you have 8 or more Dawn after you activate that effect, you get to KO an opponent's character with a cost of 4 or less. So even more advantage that way. The reason I play him at 3 is because he does not have a counter, and sometimes you're going to want those counters to keep protecting your characters. Because to play this deck, the best way, I think, it's to protect your characters as much as possible because your leader can't attack. So you're always behind in momentum in that aspect. So that's why we're playing 3 of this guy, Pepe Le Pew. Pilulu, whatever his name is. And he's Dawn 1. When attacking, you get a Dawn and rest it. So why do I play 3 of him? Because sometimes you don't get to open up, your game and see Galileo Company. So this card is the only way that you're going to maintain some Dawn advantage in your game. So that's why we must play 3 of him. And with that, look at all the entire collection of Galileo Company cards that we can play with our leader. Basically 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, and 4. So yeah, almost everything, and you're bound to see them on your first turns because you want to start spamming the board as soon as possible and every single turn as possible, because this leader isn't doing anything else besides that. So let's continue. These are not Galileo Company cards. These are 4 queens. These are a standard staple in any purple deck. It's been strong forever. Good stat blocker. On play -1. You draw 2, discard 1. Super good. Need them in every single purple deck in existence today. So 4 of hymns, mandatory. Next, I'm trying to play 1 of Guild to Sorrow. He's my tech card. He's really good because you Dawn -2 to draw 2 cards. Super advantages right there. Why do I play 1? Because, again, he has no counter. So the only way, he's going to do anything is if he's on the field. And sometimes characters get killed when they get on. Like, if you go up against an ace deck or black decks that have Sakazuki, so it happens. So that's why just 1 of him is okay. I'll show you replacements later on. I'm playing 2 of Babanuki. Babanuki is a really good card because 5 for 7 stat. He lets you get over all the 5 power leaders in the game. Now that Whitebeard is going to be out of the meta, I'm assuming that you don't need to attack for that high anymore on leaders. So 7 over the leader is pretty good. I'm playing 2 of him. Already, I'll mention to you right now, our replacement for him would be the Fat Man, Mr. Urashima. This guy, if you want to play him instead, the reason I choose not to play him is because when I'm playing this deck, I find it quite often that I'm on behind Dawn than everyone else because IceBurg keeps going -Dawn. Even with Galileo Company, a lot of your characters' effects like Califo, Rablucci, Kaku, Queen, several other cards, they minus you Dawn a lot. So you're not going to be having 7 Dawn too often. So that's why I choose to play the 5 one. But if you think you're making it to 7 Dawn often, then I'd say swap him out for this guy right away. So that's one option. So 2 of him. Next up, we're looking at some counter cards. X-Drake. On play, you're -1 to trash a card from your opponent's hand. But most likely, we're just going to use it for the 2K counter. That's about it. But if you have 0 plays possible, then you have to play, to minus a card from your opponent's hand. That's way up next. We have Shiki, the Golden Line. It's another 2K with a trigger that you might want to play. Maybe you're in your last turn possible. This is your last life. You might want to trigger him to play him instead so that you could just load up 2 Dawn and attack the leader for, more pressure. So that's why I like him over other 2K counters that are mostly useless. He's very good at the end game. If he's your last trigger in the last life, you play him. There's no point in keeping it in hand. So that's something. Up next, one of the last event cards. It's going to be Judgment of Hell. This is the best event for purple at the moment. You just counter resting 2, Dawn -1. 2 of your opponent's characters and or leader gets -3,000 during the turn. So you essentially block 2 attacks with 1 with this crazy card. So I love this card. And it's got a nice trigger that can minus the Dawn on your opponent to ruin their whole curve and everything. So last card that's a 1 spot, that's a flex spot again, is just 1 Thunder Bagua. This is the one that gives you 4,000 power. If you got 2 or less life cards, you add a Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. And trigger gives you a free Dawn as well. But I like this one because your opponent's going to be predicting Judgment of Hell when you have 2 open Dawn. So they're going to probably attack for 3k over. And then when you turn around and throw this on them, they're going to be like, wow, I just wasted 3 extra Dawn thinking I was going to go through with this. But then you went and played this on them. So just the one to spice things up. So I'm going to clear the deck profile up right now to make sure everything looks nice and organized for you. Okay, so here's a full deck profile with the ratios in clear view, except for the glare over this guy. But that is Shiki the Golden Lion at 3. So this is my full deck profile. If this is what you want to try with IceBurg, it's a great start to go with. And let me go over some replacements really quick. So again, like I said, you can play the Fat Man, Urashima, over cards like Babanuki. But in my personal opinion, I've played the deck a lot already, and I'm noticing that I don't really end up with a lot of Dawn because of the leader effect continuously minusing. You have the Queen doing the minus effect. You got Rablucci, Kaku doing minus effect. Guild Tesoro doing minus effect. Judgment of Hell going minus Dawn. So often you don't reach this. So that's why I just choose not to play him, because he most likely doesn't ever hit the field. And that's why I'm not playing something like a Russian Kaido either. But if you want to try it, be my guest. I'd say replace something like the Chimney and Gombi over there, the blocker. That's one option to go with. But yeah, another thing I wanted to consider was playing 1/6 drop Monkey D. Luffy. It would be the only rusher in the deck then. This one is on play. Down -1, you'll give him a rush with only discarding one guy that costs 5 from your hand, which is literally everyone in the whole deck that costs 5. So it's a pretty easy way to get a free rush. So that's something I considered. I might play test it, put it in, and maybe replace the Guild Tesoro or something. So just one thing you might want to try. And last but not least, if you want to play Kings, that's another option. I didn't choose them because, like I said, I'm not reaching 6 Dawn too much. But it's something you might want to consider. And you get the free KO effect, which is pretty neat. But yeah, the things to replace would be Guild Tesoro, Babanuki, or the 2 blockers. But everything else I think should stay the same. And that's a full deck profile. Thanks for watching. Until the next one, this has been Dennis from Super Pirate Bros. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment me, whatever you want. Peace.